I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today we want to talk about Diddy. Mr. Diddy is having a really bad day. It looks like that we are at the culmination of what some might define to be 30 years of seemingly questionable behavior on the part of Sean Diddy Combs. And I'm sure a lot of you have an opinion about a lot of this. Now, without further ado, before we begin, I want to let you guys know who I'm speaking with. I'm speaking with Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood, and you saw today that Diddy's house in LA got raided.
Yeah.
And there's also even these reports about fleeing the country, stuff like that.
Yeah.
First off, how you doing today, T? And did you hear about all this stuff that's been going on?
I'm good. I caught wind of it today. Obviously, I was just like you, just kind of like looking on the internet, seeing what was interesting. And I came across all the drama. And obviously, I flooded your timeline with it.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of crazy, right? And by the way, everybody, give us a yes in the chat if you can hear us. Okay, let us know if you can hear us. And also, I want to say hello to everybody. Yoshika, my name is Corey. Good to see you. So here's the deal. The latest that we are aware of: Diddy's house in LA has been raided, and also, sorry.
Oh, and Miami.
Oh, they raided two of his houses.
Yes, Miami
Okay.
and LA. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for bringing that information in. And he was on his jet at the time, according to various reports, and that led to conversations about whether or not he was trying to flee the country or trying to get away from a bad situation. So, T, what did you make of this? I mean, did that raid surprise you?
Yes, absolutely, all of it. I wasn't expecting. Obviously, I saw a video of his sons being handcuffed outside the home. Obviously, police swarmed just all over the place on two different coasts. So I thought it had to be pretty serious for all of this to be happening at the same time. It's like, what in the world is going on? I know that when the FBI, it's like Homeland Security is there, the FBI is there. It just says that like there's a lot going on. This is serious. This is not like, where it started with Cassie. Not that the situation with Cassie wasn't serious, but it's like all the allegations have really piled up in a really serious way.
Yeah. I saw that Cassie and her people had something to say. They didn't make a neutral statement. I don't have the statement in front of me, but I remember reading it, and it sounded like they were basically like, "Go get his ass." Like it's time for him to be held accountable. Everybody's been using that term accountability, and what it means to be held accountable.
Yeah.
It sounds like they want him to be held accountable, and then the question becomes like, for what? Like, what has been happening? If you were going to say Diddy was being held accountable for things or to be held accountable, what would be on your list in terms of things that might have been worthy of an investigation or that kind of thing?
Well, it's always the responses to other grown men and children for me. Like, the video I saw with Justin Bieber when he was like, "You don't like to hang out with me no more." And Justin was like, "I've just been busy." And, he was underage. Just how he talks to other grown men. I saw a video of him talking to Fabulous, and he was like, "You don't party with me no more." Fabulous was like, and he started calling him daddy and all this stuff. It was just really weird. So I know there's been a lot of debauchery happening over the years. I mean, I can, it appears so. So I just would want to know basically like, has there been any assault, any of the things that like are serious, like him having sex with men and women is his business, but has he really like harmed people that were not old enough to make those decisions for himself? There's all these rumors circulating about how he introduced a lot of people. I think Usher even said it when he was younger, and his mom kind of let him stay with Diddy. He was introduced to a lot of things like sooner than he should. He never goes into detail, but obviously that it's not good. So just being held accountable for being reckless.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is one of these things where y'all give me a yes if you agree with this. It almost felt like for many years there was a lot of dark behavior in the industry, period. Right? Like we always knew R. Kelly wasn't the only one And I would say this. Tell me if y'all agree, but I don't think Diddy is the only one. Like, and I think there's a conversation about what that means. Like, what exactly are we referring to?
Yeah.
Because having sex with men, there's nothing illegal about that.
Correct.
But it's like crossing certain boundaries. Like, were these men underage? Were people being coerced?
Yes.
There's conversations about people getting drugged and stuff like that. There's there's all this sort of extra discussion, and I think that the investigation was even linked to sex trafficking, which obviously takes it to a whole nother level in terms of being problematic. But what's interesting to me is how when this happens, we tend to isolate one person. We look at one person, and that one person is the guilty person, and then we just forget that person had 10,000 friends that were eager to party with that person the entire time.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, does it seem like we just kind of get sort of tunnel vision sometimes?
Yeah, I think the media is interesting in that way, where it's just like you watch the demise of one person, and although other people were involved, and in some of these documents, you see them throwing other people's name in, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s, obviously Meek Mill, Usher. You see all of these other names being thrown in, and obviously everybody's like, no, I don't want to be associated with that. But we are seeing it. We are seeing other people's names. But it just happens to be Diddy's day of doom. Diddy's downfall.
Diddy's day of doom.
Diddy's downfall
Did you mean
of doom.
The dumb Diddy. Yeah, well, I tell you what, I think it's I feel like stuff like this, you're just scratching the surface. That's what I'll say. Right. And I don't know if y'all saw this, but even Miss Candace Owens, who's been vocal about a lot of stuff, kind of popped up with some interesting perspectives that I think are worth even considering. I think that she claimed that this ring, or if you will, or whatever you want to call it, goes deeper than just him, that there's people at a higher level. Yeah. And effectively what is being argued by Candace is that the raid was designed to get rid of evidence and to protect higher people than him, right? As opposed to, but then again, though, the right wing tends to have their conspiracies, but then the left wing has theirs too, right? The right wing conspiracy is that everybody on the left is a pedophile, and the left wing conspiracy is that every Trump supporter wants to murder black people in his sleep or whatever, and the cops just wake up wanting to kill people, right? Yeah. So a lot of this extremist stuff kind of pops in. I listen to it all. I don't believe it all, but what I do believe is what I see and what I know. And I will say that I knew a person who was kind of in that rapper actor space. I know people who know more people than I know, because I don't want to be in that space. I don't want to be around any of that. But I remember I asked this guy, who knew Diddy. I said, "So what's it like? What's Diddy like? Like, what kind of guy is he?" And it was like fear was in his eyes, where he said, "Man, I don't know what's going on over there, but they got some dark shit going on over there." I remember, and I'll never forget that, because I was like, "Ooh, I don't want to be around dark shit." Like whatever that is. I don't, and actually a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know that Dr. Claude Anderson met with Diddy, that Diddy invited Dr. Anderson. How many of y'all knew that he called Dr. Claude Anderson, told him that he loved Powernomics, and flew Dr. Anderson in, met him in his office in New York. And I got a sense that, first of all, nothing happened, right? Which made me have a problem in general with just fast talking Negroes. I don't have any respect for that. If you say you're going to do something, like, I think you should do things, right? But then, whereas Ice Cube didn't have that same approach. Ice Cube, whatever we talked about doing, he did it. Diddy, I didn't feel the same way. But then also, I remember that it was like just sort of, you always had the kind of gayness there. And it's almost like that became kind of the scandal, but then it turned into just crazy stuff. And what's funny to me, T, tell me about what you think about any of this that I just said. Yeah. But I always thought it was so weird to see these guys, these old guys, some of them, my age and beyond, just going on shows like Vlad TV, seeking attention by telling everything that they did in the 90s and beyond. Why would you do that? It was bad enough that you got away with the shit. Now you're out here just snitching on yourself. Was it Aaron Hall? Was that the one who was talking about that?
Oh my God.
That's stupid to me.
It was so disgusting. But I think there's an arrogance there that, like, since I haven't been caught in 30 years, I will never be caught. Like, there's a statute of limitation. What are they? It's like, you can't catch me. Ha, ha, ha. I did it already. And I think people are seeing that is not true. Or they throw it out like, I mean, yeah, we used to do that in the 90s. Like when Aaron Hall was on there just being disgusting. Like that interview I was like, this is the guy that used to sing Let's Chill? Like gross. But Diddy saw me. He was around when I was effing bees and all it was just a lot to take in, right? And you just wow, this is the person that we've been regarding as an R&B crooner and amazing and all of this stuff and having such good thoughts and feelings about. But really, you learn that they really are gross and disgusting.
And what that really tells you is people got to stop worshiping celebrities. That's what I mean. That's what it's really saying to me is you love somebody just because they made your favorite song, and people don't understand. Like, I guess because I'm a man and I kind of understand men better than like a woman might, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these guys are just the most debaucherous, nasty, jacked up human beings that you'll ever meet, especially when you've been dabbling in drugs and an endless stream of vaginas thrown at you from every direction. So you're diseased, you're mentally ill to some extent. There's something about celebrity, and I've tried to express this idea, and I don't know how many people actually get it. I've expressed it to you, I've expressed it to others, but there's something rotten, something that rots inside a man when he has no boundaries and no discipline, and he gets whatever he wants. Yep. It's like a rotting vegetable or like a rotting piece of meat. Like his soul just rots. And some of these guys have rotten souls, because they can't, they're not normal anymore, right? Yeah. Because think about it, most men have to work hard to get the attention of a beautiful woman. Yeah. But what if you have 10,000 beautiful women that all want to sleep with you at once? Like, what if you're a Chris Brown or somebody, where all these girls are like, I'll bend over, do whatever you want, right? It distorts your reality. Right. Yeah. And so what's odd to me is when women get with men like this and they expect these men to be normal people.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
There ain't nothing normal. Most of the, especially with hip hop, because hip hop was that space where even back, I promise you, T, even back in the 90s, I remember thinking when these dudes get old, this is going to catch up with them. Yeah. Like they literally were in this world where because you got money and fame and power, you could do whatever you want. And they just thought they could just do this and there will be no consequences. And I believe in karma. I believe the universe eventually will give you a consequence. Yeah. And I believe eventually. And then the other thing too is when these white folks get done with you, when they don't love you no more, when you go from being the cool hip guy who's dancing, because remember Diddy was dancing, always dancing, showing up for the party, and they loved Diddy when he was the partying black man. Yeah. Now, right before our eyes, he's been turned into a dirty old man.
Yeah.
He's been turned into the next Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, you said a lot of things just now, but I absolutely agree. I think just being in Hollywood and kind of being around these types of men and these types of people, you learn quickly that like it's not all everything that glitters, everything that's gold and glitter or whatever they say. It's
everything that glitters ain't gold.
Yeah, you don't really want to meet your favorite celebrity because 9 times out of 10 you will absolutely positively hate them. They'll kill it for you, like the allure of it. And I think the difference is like in the 90s there wasn't a celebrity culture. I mean there was, but we didn't have access to our favorite celebrities like we do now. Social media has made it really easy for us to find out exactly what they're doing and what they're not doing and who they're doing and why is it important. And then, the whole gossip columns and, bloggers and websites. It's just made it too accessible to us. Now that we know these people, they're not as great as we thought they were, especially in the 90s. Let me tell you, I have a confession, boys.
Okay. Confess.
In the 90s, early 2000s, I used to have, when people had posters of people all over their wall, right? People had Usher on their wall or whoever it was. I had Diddy on my wall. I don't know why. Let me tell you why. But there was something about, I think because he was a businessman. I don't know. Like, I guess I've always been attracted to those. But he seemed like he had power to me. Power in the sense of like, man, like he seems like the cool guy that got all the money. Right? I don't know. Maybe that was my 17, 16-year-old mind, but I used to have pictures of Diddy on my wall. Even when I got to college, I still had these same pictures on my wall. Don't judge me. Y'all don't judge me. But there was just something about the way, I guess, I thought he handled business, as a kid. And I just admired that. I thought like he was the boss of it all. And he was. Truthfully, I just didn't know he was a gross human being on top of that, you know?
Well, I feel like you're like a lot of people. I mean, I knew somebody who a young lady who went to college, and I was asking about her college experience. She said, "Well, it would have been better, but I didn't study." And I said, "Why didn't you study?" She said, "Because I went to Atlanta because I wanted to get in the music industry." And she said, "I assumed that I would meet Diddy or Jay-Z and they would hire me to come work for them, and then I would leave school."
Yeah.
That's how delusional some young people get. Like that's what some of this entertainment crap does. It creates these stupid false dreams where you're running up behind some artist who's only looking at you between your legs,
Yeah.
and ain't really got the money he pretends to have, but he knows that clout that he gets because the white man put him on TV. That's going to give him access, to things that money can't buy, that money should not be able to buy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. And so then what happens is to Cassie is next thing you know, you're getting trafficked. Next thing you know, you're in this crazy situation. And I think Cassie's a victim. I really do. I think that she was victimized by Diddy. It sounds like she was, all that stuff.
I
But
agree.
also remember, there was a lot of other women that would have gladly taken Cassie's place. And there were also women who could have taken Cassie's place who chose not to. Right. So a
Yeah.
lot of times when we go chasing those waterfalls, TLC style,
Yeah.
we end up drowning.
Yeah.
So by the way, T, I want everybody to know who I'm talking to. I'm speaking to Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood. We're talking about Diddy getting raided and in his house. There's all these reports about him running off to other countries and everything else. If y'all could do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And Tierra's website is realvirtual.net. And they help people with their businesses. So if you have a business and you need some help, everybody needs help. So if you're trying to make extra money, get your side hustle off the ground, reach out to realvirtual.net. I work with them and I love their team. They're extremely good and they will do an appointment with you. Tell them Dr. Boyce sent you. Realvirtual.net, REEL virtual.net. And they have a lot of people there that can help you kind of not just come up with the idea, but to do the work. All right. So hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. So okay, so let's kind of like do a quick like recap on this because I want to hit this Diddy thing in a couple other directions.
That were inside that mansion at the time that DHS or Department of Homeland Security made entry into this mansion and onto this property, and you saw the juxtaposition of these heavily armed vehicles and those very expensive luxury cars that are parked right on that driveway right there. So clearly a very different sight than we're used to seeing. But there you see some of the people that were inside that mansion at the time of the raid. They are being talked to by investigators, by people from the Department of Homeland Security. I could see they're getting their pictures taken as well. So maybe they don't know who they're looking for or who they have in front of them at this point. But again, part of the process of gathering information as to who in particular was on the grounds at the time that they made entry during this raid. So if we do have a vantage point from the ground there, I'm not sure if we have a ground.
Okay, so it looks like all the media, of course, is picking up on this, and really, truthfully, T, my goal is not so much just to talk about what's going on with Diddy, and because this man's got enough problems without me sharing gossip about him.
Right.
But I do think that there are some bigger issues to kind of sort of look at here.
Yeah.
One question I want to ask you is this: you are a Hollywood veteran. You've done a lot of things in LA. You've known a lot of people. You have a vast amount of experience. You're an awesome actress, writer, producer, director, all that stuff. And so you've been kind of out there. I'd be curious to know, why did it take so long? I mean, let's assume Diddy has been doing some stuff. Let's say Diddy ain't the only one who's guilty. Let's say P. Diddy was also guilty, and Puffy was also guilty, and Sean was guilty. And so let's go back 30 years because Diddy's been in this game for a minute. And a lot of people were even implicating him way back in the Tupac days for obvious reasons, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think almost anybody. I think in the Tupac thing, it's like one of those things where people are like, well, I wouldn't have killed him, but I understand because Hit 'Em Up was just this song where you're like, oh my God, Willie D, my buddy, he said that when he heard that song, he knew somebody was going to get killed.
Yeah.
He heard the song. He said, "Oh my God, somebody's about to get killed."
Yeah.
So why do you think it took so long? Who was protecting Diddy? If he, assuming he's guilty, I think he should be innocent until proven guilty, right? But if he's guilty of something, why was he protected for so long? Because it's not like nobody knew.
I think it all comes down to money and power, who you know. It feels like he had the right attorneys. Remember, because he was on trial with and that even came out like he was saying that he was actually the one responsible, according to some, allegedly, according to some of the documents I seen released from Little Rod. He said that Diddy was boasting, saying that he was the one that actually was responsible for the murder or whoever got killed that night in the nightclub. But obviously, he once they went to court, he separated himself from Shine and was like, he did it, I didn't. I'm a good Samaritan, you know. So I think he just had more money at the time. Shine was broke, and he had the right lawyers to get him out of the situation, and they had a scapegoat, right? So I just think over and over again, we're seeing someone that has the right amount of money and they can pay off whatever debts need to be paid to be protected, you know. And whether, you know, you don't want to get into conversations about like corrupt police or just being protected in that way, but I mean, it happens every day. So
Interesting.
yeah.
That's an interesting point. You know, it's because in New York, I feel like in New York, I got an opportunity to engage with some of the really interesting characters in New York. New York is just full, and I call them characters because New York is full of some of the most interesting people in terms of the celebrity space that I've ever seen. You know, you have the Trumps, and I remember going up there when I would go on the Wendy Williams show, and I've engaged with Al Sharpton quite a lot, and Russell Simmons a lot. You know, Russell and I worked on some stuff together, and it's interesting because you smell that there's like kind of a crookedness and selfishness in the culture.
Yeah.
You know, where there's something shady going on, something weird going on, like the way Diddy, or the way Wendy Williams was ran out of New York. Remember, Wendy was one of the first ones to start talking about the debauchery in hip hop. If you remember, Wendy was the first one to be like, "Look, here's what's really going on with these rappers."
Yeah.
And again, the report at that time was that Diddy made sure Wendy was out of New York. And so with these individuals, there is a high level of intelligence, in my opinion, because it's a really competitive space. Everybody's trying to be famous. Everybody's trying to be successful.
Yeah.
So the ones that rise to the top, whether you're talking about somebody like a Sharpton or a Russell or a Diddy or Wendy, I never met Diddy, but the other three I did interact with quite extensively. And I can confirm, like, all three of those people, Wendy, Sharpton, and Russell, are all geniuses. All three of them are sharp, smart, able to engage with lots of people. They're also very, very tough. And why are they tough? Well, they're tough because New York is a tough space.
Correct.
Right? And what happens also too is that there is a lot of weirdness and corruption that can kind of happen, you know, in the industry where, you know, there are spaces where you're like, okay, there's some drugs around, or there's some RICO type stuff going on, or police corruption, and it's funny because these people will be interacting with the mayor's office and all that. Donald Trump used to roll with the Diddys and the Sharptons pretty bad, and we know Donald Trump is corrupt. We know he's corrupt. Again, I don't care if you vote for Trump or not. That man has a 40-year track record of being involved with mafia and Russian gangsters. And I mean, he was in the casino and boxing industry, for God's sake. He was kicking it with Don King and all these other people. So really, you know, it's just kind of like that's why none of this surprises me, right?
Yeah.
You know, what does surprise me though is how he lost his protection. That's what I think that's the real question I really want to ask Diddy is, who did you piss off?
He was trying to buy NBC.
Yeah, I know, right? And you know what's going to happen, right? People are going to come up with their conspiracy theories, and they're all going to seem to make sense or whatever. And I don't, you know, it's like just because you got a conspiracy theory don't make it right. But I do believe that there are conspiracies, and I also think that this type of behavior, we know it goes deeper than just the Diddys. Because a notch above the Diddys, that's when you get into the Epsteins. Yeah. That's when you get into some of these people in the record, and the Clive Davises, right? That's when you get into all the, you know, and all the other Steens and Steins, if y'all know what I mean, that are really running the industry, that are driving the debauchery. Diddy, to me, is just a product of higher level debauchery. But these are the people that will never have their house raided like this. So I'm trying to figure out, who did Diddy piss off? What do you think?
I think sometimes when you're reckless and you can't be saved, I hear a little bit of an echo. Do you hear that?
Is there an echo?
Good. Okay, there's not. Okay. I think sometimes when you are when you're reckless and you do so much that you cannot be saved, I think by the time they say that there was a breach, or she had the NDA had ran out, or whatever people say. But I think that truly, if enough happens in one incident, like with Cassie coming out and saying, here's what he did, and it hit so hard that he couldn't be saved, right? Like once it hits the media the way it did, and everybody's talking about it and covering it, it's just like, well, we'll see how this goes. And I think they tried, right? Within 24 hours, 48 hours, he had settled and hope. And I think he was hoping that would be that, but it wasn't.
Interesting. Well, it's funny. Somebody mentioned Clarence Avant, and they did the whole documentary, The Godfather.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know what Avant's history was, right? And I want to be careful because I do know people that know him, and I respect what these individuals accomplished. But I am going to say this: I'm always I ain't gonna lie, I'm always real curious when I see a Black person who has been invited into certain circles that Black people are not normally invited in.
Yep.
It makes me say, so how did that happen? What's going on? What's happening right there? Right. And it's usually something that might occur whether you into some gangster shit or you're into some you're part of the booty gang. Let's just say call it that. Or maybe it's something less scandalous. Like if you notice, most of the people, especially Black women I see that get high ranking positions in Hollywood, I always Google their husbands. And you know what I'm going to find? I'm going to find a Steen or a Stein as their husband, right? We know what it is, right? Yeah. Or maybe there's another, what was the other one that I saw? I remember Lee Daniels, when Lee Daniels was getting all these opportunities and he made Empire. And I didn't like Empire at all. I thought Empire was just, I said, Lord Jesus, why are they, misportraying Black people in such a terrible way? I talked about Empire a lot, to the point where Don Lemon went on the Tom Jordan Morning Show just to dispel everything I said about Empire. He was literally like, there's Boyce Watkins is saying this. I said, no. Lee Daniels is a sick dude. Lee Daniels is a guy who, in fact, I don't know if you ever read, I think he said something in his book where he said he was going around sleeping with as many people as he could, hoping that he would catch, HIV. I could have sworn that was written. I said, this man needs a therapist. He don't need a TV show, because what happens is you're puking your mental illness onto the world. You're portraying the sickest, craziest part of the world, and you're saying, "Oh, this is the Black experience, y'all." And I ain't gonna lie, Tyler Perry does a little bit of that weird stuff too, right? So, because I remember I saw that movie. What was that movie? With that real long title, like Black girls who don't look at the sun no more because it stopped shining and the flowers ain't coming out. You know what I'm talking about? I don't remember the name. It was something like that. And that movie was so depressing. It was depressing and crazy. And then you saw Precious. I don't know if anybody else. You walk out of Precious, you're like, oh my God, I need to go jump out a window because this is just terrible. Like, life is bad right now. So to me, here's my point, right? And so it wasn't to say that Lee Daniels can't have a voice, but it's like, why do they pick certain voices all the time? And if you look at Lee Daniels and you look at where he got his opportunities, I know exactly where he got his opportunities. I think he was married to a guy who was, part of a certain community, which shall remain nameless, because we know that they have no power, because if you mention it, then they'll come and take all your stuff. And then also he mentioned something weird. Like he said, my kids have read Mein Kampf, or no, not Mein Kampf. I'm sorry, not Mein Kampf. The book by Anne Frank. I think is it called Anne Frank?
Oh,
Yeah, something like that. He said they read Anne Frank 3 times, but they've never read Roots. And I'm like, so basically what you're saying is that they've completely dispelled their interest in being Black, and now they just want to be something different. And that gives you opportunities in Hollywood, right? So I kind of feel like with Avant, that was what was interesting about that Godfather documentary, was the way he just fit in with all these folks that our people don't normally fit in with.
Yeah.
Every other Black person that you meet is a nigga except for this one. Like, what's special about him? What happened here?
Yeah. I think it's also interesting that Avant's daughter is married to Ted Sarandos, who also is the CEO of Netflix. So he had a doc. I think they.
I'm doing the Kobe Lane thing.
I know.
Yep.
So there's also that, right? And if there had been rumors around of who Clarence Avant was, I think that was a great opportunity for them to take it and kind of celebrate him and all the things that he did. But you also have to wonder, because his wife was brutally murdered, right? They brutally murdered a 90-year-old lady. It's like, it was like, where did that come from? And somebody literally hopped the fence, and they had a gated community, which is weird. And there was just so many holes, and then it just went away, right? Like, It's like, how did the security miss that somebody hopped over and then they just knocked on the door and then blew her? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was weird. And then, like, nobody caught it, and she went, and then they had a funeral, and then that was it. So there's just a lot of things, like you said. It's a lot of things happening around here. I mind my business. I try to stay out of that, but there is a lot of stuff that I've seen that I'm just like, no, I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of this, that. Or if you're around people and you notice that they're kind of weird, it's just like, okay, I thought I would want to work with this person, but I don't want to be wrapped up in that, because they're kind of abusive. Like, they take their power and they use it and they abuse people.
Yep. And by the way, everybody, you're watching drboystv.com, the home for intelligent and serious Black people. So if you are a serious Black person, this is the place for you. But we also like to have fun. I'm speaking with Tiara KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood. We're talking about the whole Diddy house being raided and fleeing the country stuff. But we really want to go beyond just the story and the gossip. I don't want to do that. I want to talk about the broader implications. And I actually have a financial lesson that comes out of this, financial consciousness exercise. And also, I want to mention to you guys the stock that we mentioned this morning, the stock that I'm buying. I mentioned to you all, you guys know every single morning we do financial consciousness training where we talk for 45 minutes about money. My PhD is in money. I want you to understand money. I want you to meditate on money so you can have money. And if you want to join that, just text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. If you text morning to 87948, I'll send you an invitation. You can join us. We do it's almost like a financial church where we get together and I just break it down and chop it up and help you guys understand it. And so the one stock that I mentioned to you all as a result of what I think is coming down the pike is an energy crisis. I don't know if you know this, Tiara, or not, but literally I read somewhere that AI is sucking up all the energy. So there's going to be energy shortage. And they said that in the next few years, AI is going to actually take up more energy than every house in America, like combined or something, right? So the solution, I believe, is going to be nuclear power. I think we're going to really turn heavily toward nuclear power. So the stock, the ticker symbol that I mentioned to the students today is a stock called Energy. It's Energy something. And the ticker symbol is UUUU. That's the ticker. So if you are an investor and you want to get Energy Fuels, that's the name of the company. So if you want to get ahead of this and you want to invest in something that I'm invested in, feel free to take a look at UUUU. And also, if you want to join us, text the word morning to 87948. That is right there on the screen. So you can write that down. Just pull out your phone, type the word morning like a text message, and send it to that number 87948, and you can join for free. All right. So here's the next thing that I'm thinking about, T, is this. I like to think about the financial side of stuff. Yeah. And one of the things that I observe too in the way you can get trapped in a Diddy type situation is because people tend to want to be around people that have money.
Yes.
And Jeffrey Epstein understood this very well. I believe, I'm gonna tell you what, I believe that it's not inconceivable that Jeffrey Epstein could have been like Israeli intelligence.
Right.
I believe he could have been. And the reason I say that is because, again, I take in all information and it just made sense. It just clicked. It was like, oh, that's why his airplane had a certain tail number. I'm a pilot. I'm a trained pilot. Y'all know this. And you can track a plane by the tail number. So somebody looked at the tail number, if I'm not mistaken, on one of Epstein's planes, and they linked it back to the Israeli government or something like that. And so here's where I'm going with this. I believe that what Epstein understood and what his handlers understood is that money makes people stupid. Money, if people show up with money, if you show up as a billionaire, think about how many people just want to be next to you just because you're rich.
Yeah.
People want to be your friend. People believe everything you say. All the girls want you in their bedroom. People will do business with you. They will go along with pretty much anything, right? So they use money to get people to lower their guard, to get them to lower their consciousness. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh, by the way, I want to, because I like you so much and I'm a billionaire, so of course you're excited about that. I want to invite you to my private island to come out and have whatever you want. Oh, there's girls over there. What kind of girls you like, right? And then they got the hidden camera. So now this senator they now blackmailed the senator so that the next time the Israelis want to go beat up on the Palestinians or whatever, and they need missiles and airplanes from the United States, the senator ain't going to vote against it because they're going to say, oh, well, we got something on you, right? So what I think, like with Diddy, that's interesting too, is that Diddy also had a lot of money. And because he had so much money, he had a lot of friends. And now a lot of those friends are sweating because they're thinking, oh my God, I was so flattered that I got invited to all these Diddy parties. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I remember in like 2008, 2009, I had a friend that got invited to one of Diddy's little white parties. Remember everybody wear white? And I remember being so jealous. This is like 14, 15 years ago. I remember being like, I want to go to a Diddy party.
Right.
See, so they say God protects babies and fools, and I ain't a baby, so we know what I must be. But really, I think that's what a lot of people do. What do you think? I mean, I think that people have to sort of heighten their consciousness a little bit and stop chasing the money. It's almost like when guys just chase a pretty girl, and next thing you know, that girl's luring you back in to get killed or something. Like that's the oldest trick in the book. Like, do you think that money kind of makes people blind? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think online we see it when girls are like, I don't want no man unless he got money. I mean, everybody has the same, literally like the same narrative. It's like they want to get close to people with money. Women don't want you unless you have money. Nobody want to be around somebody that's broke, right? Everybody, that is a thing. But what it does is it just creates like a desperate situation where people become desperate to be around those people. They want to be associated with that power. And so, like you said, they'll end up being like Lil Rod, who was like, well, I came from the church, but I mean, I guess I could have sex with a man. It's like you just, that's not what he said, but I'm saying like it just puts you in a situation where you're literally just staying in a situation. You're staying there because you don't want to lose the prestige of it all. It's like, I live with Diddy. Like, wow, I'm living with him while I'm doing this, doing his album. And it's just like every day there was situations that was thrown at him that was like luring him to stay, even though it went against everything that was inside of him. Even though, and I think that's what people do. Like, they're thrown these situations and they want to be, like you said, they want to be close to it. But, then they end up compromising everything of who they were. I think that's the definition of selling your soul. When people say that and they come to Hollywood, it's like, you can't come here desperate. You can't come here and not know who you are. You have to really like have boundaries at some point and be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But thank you so much for the opportunity. And just understand that, like you said, you're being protected. There's some situations I've been protected from. Praise goodness, God, praise God. But I just couldn't see myself putting myself in a situation like that where I felt so desperate. It's like, well, I mean, I guess I ain't never really had $1 billion. So, like I kind of thought it was like, well, I guess I'll live without $1 billion another day. That's fine. Like you gotta have that for you. You can't be so desperate for it.
Well, you know what? And by the way, everybody, if you could please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. I'm talking with Tierra KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood, and we're talking about Diddy. And today, if you don't know, his house got raided, and also there's all these conversations about him possibly trying to escape to an island or something like that. All those details, you can get that stuff from TMZ. We are here really to talk to you about the broader implications of this, like sort of what we can learn and understand about our culture, right? And one thing I want to bring up on this, T, is everybody always talks about the culture. And Diddy was a big part of that, the culture. I never claimed that culture. I never felt like that culture was a representation of who we were. I think that what happens is that we think the culture is basically whatever white people put on TV, and if they have black faces on it, we say, oh, that must be our culture. But if you think about it, if you look at it from just a common sense standpoint, even if you wanted to throw in a word like morality, which is kind of a slippery slope, I don't want to go down that path of judging people. You saw some pretty ignorant, debaucherous, like crazy, ridiculous shit that we were then calling the culture.
Yeah.
And it was all validated because there'd be some guy who made a hit album and we would say, oh, well, that he's representing us. And next thing you know, he's supposedly a black leader and all these other things. And we end up making ourselves look kind of silly to the world. And all this is being manipulated and controlled by people that have the money. This is why I have to answer this. You know this. I have to answer this for people that are like, why is Boyce, a finance professor, talking about something like this? It's because it's all about the money. It's driven by the money. It's the money, the money, the money. There will be no Diddy without money. Y'all got to understand Diddy is a brand. Diddy is a product, just like Coca-Cola, just like Nike sneakers, just like Aquafina water, just like Hamburger Helper, just like an iPhone. Diddy is a product. He was manufactured, made in America. They made that. They rewarded that weird debaucherous shit. And then we slapped a label on it and said, "Oh, that's black culture," and it works on us because we don't know who we are. We didn't know what our culture is, so people grow up and they say, "Oh, well, that must be black culture." So when Snoop Dogg shows up at an award show, anybody remember this? When he showed up at an award show with women on leashes, anybody remember that? How many of y'all remember that? Snoop showed with a pimp, with Bishop Magic Don Juan, a pimp, a sex trafficker, with women on a leash. We thought, oh, that's so lit, because he don't love them hoes. And the white man's like, yeah, boy, say it again, boy. I'll pay you more money, boy. I love it. You sound so cool when you say, we don't love them hoes. And you come to the award show with women on a leash and a pimp next to you, that's screaming sex trafficking. You're vulnerable to lawsuits. Both of these women can come back 30 years later. Tell me if I'm lying. Am I lying? If I'm lying, I'm flying. These women in this picture, Snoop, can come back and sue you and talk and make it. They could even make up a story if they wanted to. I mean, because shit, the evidence everywhere. Yeah. See, money makes people into suckers if you're not careful. The money will have you thinking that something that is not okay is okay. So here's the thing. So years later, when you see Diddy running from the feds, getting his house raided, allegedly trying to escape the country, all you got to do is hit the rewind button and look at these images to know they incentivize this. They got financially rewarded for talking about how much they hated black women and how much they couldn't stand. We don't love them hoes. How many millions of dollars you think Snoop made from that one phrase alone? He didn't get paid to say, I love my black women. Oh, you would not, if that was his phrase, you wouldn't know who Snoop Dogg is. You know him because he told you how much he hates his own women, and that should be an embarrassment to us as black people. So now, unfortunately, it's kind of sad because now you're not the young, cool guy anymore. Now you're the dirty old man. And now you're in a politically correct world where women from the 90s can file suits. And you done ran through 10,000 hoes all your whole life. Like literally, you don't love them hoes, but you liked them enough to where you had a lot. You got in bed with a lot of them. And every single one of those women could come and sue you for $10 million any day of the week. And I ain't even got to all the men that Diddy was hanging out with. I don't even know I don't know nothing about the men. So really, generally speaking, I think we just kind of have this era. And this is something that's kind of sad about our society is that 1 minute they'll reward you for doing something, and then they'll punish you for doing the same thing that they rewarded you for doing 20 years ago.
The same thing. You know what? You preaching up in here, Dr. Boyce Watkins.
Well, you're frozen up in here.
No, am I frozen? I was frozen because you was preaching. Am I still frozen?
Is she frozen? Is she moving?
I can see myself.
Is Tiara's face frozen or not? Because she looks frozen to me. Yeah, T, you might want to pop out and come back in because you look frozen. But, unless you want to talk with a frozen face, it's totally up to you. Go ahead.
I'm gonna leave back. Hold on.
Okay. So she was frozen. All right. So anyway, while we wait for Tiara to come back, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. You're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent and serious black people. Also, if you want to join us, we do stock options training in the Black Business School. We have a great program that I think you're going to like. It has increased the income of a lot of the students. We're very proud to say that the stock market, the percentage of the country that invests in the stock market is about 61%. In the Black Business School, that number is 88%. I want to get it up beyond 90%, but right now we're about 88%. So if you want to join us, just go to drboyceprime.com and take a look. Also, if you text the word money to 87948, text money to 87948, I'll send you some free stuff. I'll send you an invitation to our stock options summit that's going to be in Los Angeles, April 19th. I'll also send you a training called How to Make Money Without Working. I'm a finance professor, so this is not fake. All right, so let me bring Tiara back in. Looks like she's here. She's in color and full effect. Please go ahead. Go ahead, Tiara. What were you going to say in response?
I was just saying you was preaching up in here. You came to preach today. I just enjoyed that whole little thing. I just want you to know that.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
Yes, Lord. Hallelujah. All right. So there was
Hallelujah.
you know what makes me really sad? It just everything that you just said was absolutely correct, right? I wanted to just add to it like the fallout. Like I always think of like these little girls that Diddy has who are now without their mother and possibly going to be without their father. The idea that, you know, like these other children are out here on the yard in handcuffs and, you know, like all of just what the fallout really means. You know, it just kind of makes me sad from just a family, like from the family, you know, looking at them and just watching them fall from grace. It really makes me sad. Like it just like the girls, like I said, and you know, there's speculation that, you know, people on the internet saying like, did he kill their mama or whatever? But I don't know nothing about that. But just the fact that, you know, if they are, there's such chaos with their father right now. And then they have, you know, they don't have their mother. And it just seems like a lot. It seems like a lot going on. And you know, it just made me sad. I'm looking at these pictures and I'm just looking at all this stuff and him fleeing and possibly, allegedly, which is another thing that we haven't talked about. Obviously, do you think that he's trying to like Russell Simmons it? Do you think he's trying to go, you know, somewhere where he can't be extradited?
Well, you know, there are those reports, obviously, right, that his plane was tracked to the Virgin Islands and that they had to force him to land. I'm gonna just say this: if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you know, it almost sounds like a lot of chickens are coming home to roost. And I think that we have to sort of just go ahead and accept the idea that the Diddy era is pretty much over. You know, the idea of Diddy being sort of the cool guy that everybody loves and the party guy and the dancer, the Peter Pan of hip hop for the most part, because he didn't seem to age. Now he's aging. Now he's aging right before our eyes. Yeah. And he's not the same guy that everybody thought he was years ago, right? And now what's happening is that you're having all these receipts being reckoned of all these people that were eager to get next to Diddy for all those years, right? Mm-hmm. All these people that wanted to be his friend. And here's another funny, crazy little factoid. Guess what day Biggie's album Life After Death was released? Guess what the date was? Mm-hmm. Wait, I thought I was putting it on the screen. Wait, I'm putting the wrong thing on the screen. I can't find it. Guess what date? Can y'all guess? I'll give you a hint. March 25th, 1997.
March 25th?
Yeah, Biggie's album release date was today. So isn't that interesting?
1997.
Yeah. 1997. I thought I had something else I was going to put up there. I'll put it on the screen so you guys can see it. But literally, I don't know if that. I mean, that's so it's kind of interesting because there's almost like this supernatural aspect of what's happening where people have sort of talked about. I don't know if you heard people talking about a psychic who predicted, you know, a lot of these things would happen in the spring. And so I don't know. I mean,
Cat Williams was a psychic. Cat Williams said the truth is coming out in 2024. He said all the truths are coming out.
Well, you know what? Yeah. I mean, you know, and I think that it's kind of unfortunate because what surprises me about rap dudes, a lot of the rappers that they're really just, you know, are kind of in the messy stuff, is that society gave them a big leash. There was a lot of leeway for them to get ratchet and get into stuff and, you know, and just mess around and do a lot of stuff. And so what to me was, you know, really going on here was kind of this abuse of power, right? This idea that says, okay, it's not enough for me to know that I can sleep with any woman I want. I need to force her to to sleep with a dog, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
whatever. Like just I need to drug people and really make them into whatever. And I'm gonna tell you this too. I really think that the hook here in terms of black people going to Hollywood and other places and getting weird is it seems like drugs is a big part of that, right? I think there's
Yeah.
something about drugs, and this is why I don't mess with drugs, but
Yeah.
drugs unlocks a side of people that would not exist otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Like that's remember when Richard Pryor said he said that he was curious about what it'd be like to sleep with a man. So he
Yeah.
said, so I slept with a man for 2 weeks to see if I liked it and I didn't like it.
And I didn't like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Normal black men don't say that.
No.
I don't know a single straight black man anywhere who would ever be like, oh yeah, let me just experiment. No, you experiment with like chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla, right? Maybe you experiment with wearing shorts in 50-degree weather, but you don't experiment with something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was the drugs. I really think so. And in fact, actually, you mentioned something earlier where you talked about the guy who came out of the church who was kicking it with Diddy, and he just starts letting go of his moral boundaries because because what they've done is they created this thing that you want so bad, this fame,
Yeah.
this money, this you're next to these celebrities, so celebrities have this intoxicating amount of power over you,
Yeah.
and so I think about when you mentioned him, I thought about another person I know who was out of the church. He sang at his church. He was really good, and when he was 15 years old, he was invited to go out and go on tour with a very famous group in the 80s.
Yeah.
And during that tour, he was 14 or 15, Justin Bieber age-ish, right? When Justin first got discovered.
Yep.
Bad things happened to him during that tour, and he also got introduced to cocaine.
Yep.
Now, this person, he never got famous. He never got rich. The great career that he thought he was going to have didn't happen. But when he was running off with these grown men who were exposing him to only God knows what, he had his whole black family back at the church cheering him on, just saying, "Oh, look, he got a he got a record deal. He got blah blah." Like everybody, we get so excited about somebody getting the so-called opportunity, and you don't even know that you sent your child off to go make a deal with the damn devil.
To be sexual. I mean, I think a lot of people do that, right? So all the women did that with R. Kelly. I believe that when there's a part of parents that you're right. They like, oh, I want my baby to be famous so bad. She gonna be the next Beyonce and all of that. And then they do. It's like for you to sign over your parental rights to Diddy, for him to parent Usher for a little while. Like you don't know what you are sending your kid off into. He's an adult. He's having, you know what I'm saying? So I think there's a part of when I look at a lot of the women that have been sex trafficked by R. Kelly or whatever, right? I always think of their parents. It's like, where was their mamas? Where was your mama? Where was Aaliyah's mama? But when R. Kelly was where was their parents when they were allowing, like when Aaliyah got married, right? Like, where was your mama? There's no way that I'm gonna let my 13-year-old go off and be with a grown man just because she sings. My daughter sings, my daughter's acting, but I'm not giving her away to nobody. she gonna do that through us. So I just think there is a bit, like you said, I'm sorry, that just triggered me. Like there is a bit of us, the parents that are at fault. Because they do want that. They want that. They want the allure too. And I think it's from a place of love. I want my child to have better than I had. I want them to have opportunities, and they trust these people. But you can't trust nobody with your kid. It's your kid, So,
yeah. Well, I think that's a great point that you make. And I think that a lot of times we just get suckered in by that. There's something that makes people trust celebrities.
Yeah.
We also trust these managers and agents and all these other people that because they give you access to your dream. And then if you show resistance, like if you say no, I don't want my child to be exposed to this or exposed to that, then they kind of just have this long list of other people's children that are just waiting for that same opportunity. So you're kind of scared, like, well, if I don't go along with whatever they say, then I'll be seen as difficult and I won't get this opportunity that's in front of me. And I think that it's and actually it's interesting. Remember, I didn't finish the story about what happened with my cousin that got discovered when he was 14 or 15.
Okay.
He just died from a drug overdose.
Oh
Like
wow.
literally, yeah. He was about my age, and when he got discovered, you know, he went out with this group, and they introduced him to stuff that he shouldn't have seen at the age of 14 or 15, and
Wow.
it literally, what's the word? It cursed him for life.
Yeah, ruined
It
his
haunted him for the rest of his life. He, you know, people don't understand. Just like when I heard DMX's story and what happened to DMX, people don't understand how terrible it is when a kid of 14 or 15 years old gets introduced to something as powerful as cocaine or whatever.
yes.
Their brains are not ready for it, you
Yes.
know, and this is why I still am clueless as to why we have not, as a community, gained the maturity to stand up and say, no, we're not going to let rappers get paid by these damn racist record labels to promote drug use amongst teenagers. I have friends whose sons are 21 years old and are gone on drugs. Do you understand what you're losing? Do you understand what kind of an asset you lose when you have a strong, healthy black man that could have been great, a protector of the family, a provider, all these things that a good man can do. Think about all the great things that a good man does,
Yeah.
and then reverse that and replace him with a drug addict who's going to be stealing from family, letting people down, beating people up, going to jail, causing problems, not showing up for his kids, and impregnating half the women at the same damn time. That's what you're doing. They are poisoning your fucking community, and it drives me crazy, Tierra, that we don't stand up on that. We should be talking about this every damn day. We should have a zero tolerance policy of any artist that is promoting drug use in the black community.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I talked to a black man who he was like an FBI agent or a federal marshal or something. And he said, yeah, I get called Uncle Tom this and Uncle Tom that by other black people because I call out some of this nonsense with the rappers. He said, but that I can't help it. He said, because as an agent, I have seen what these drugs do to the kids. I studied it. I studied the brain damage. It shit fries your brain. So you're like, oh, well, I was only hooked on meth for 2 years. Now I got my life straight. No, it's hard to come back from that. He talked about another one because they have to study all the drugs because he was like DEA and all that. He said that what was one of them? Molly, the one they were promoting in the music.
Yeah.
He said you have no idea how Molly fries a teenager's brain. They ain't coming back. They're not going to be normal after that. You know, so even after they clean up and all this stuff, right? So I personally think as black people, we just can't. You know, I get it made me sick. It irritated. It still irritates me. Because just like, for example, just now, I just had a consultation with a student that, you know, in the Black Business School, and we were talking, and he's like a smart man. He's 45 years old. He's got a wife and two kids, and he's got hundreds of thousands of dollars he's been saving, just a regular working guy. And I said, I'm so proud of you, man. I'm so honored to know you because you're the kind of man, you're my hero, right? Not these idiots they put on TV, not these damn athletes, but no, you're my hero because you're providing for that woman. She ain't got a care in the world. You've been married to her for 18 years. You're taking care of that baby. She's protected. You're financially responsible. You're intelligent. You're making money moves, positive moves for your family. That to me is what our role model should be, not some guy like a Diddy. There's nothing about Diddy that makes him wonderful except for the fact that he's got money. That's it. But we will honor a Diddy. We will honor a criminal, pervert, sex trafficker over regular black men, and then you wonder why so many of your men just give up. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Go ahead, T. I know you got stuff to do. You got to go to the gym and all that. So
go to the gym. But I was just thinking about all the things that you were saying and just the influence. You know, the 90s were a very different time. When I'm thinking about like when Ready to Die, I literally, when you mentioned Ready to Die, I thought about where I was and what I was doing, and I just remember, you know, music being different. Obviously, the hip hop scene was different. We were coming out of, you know, drugs was a thing, but, you know, people were coming fresh off like that whole NWA, like the whole everybody wanted to be hard. And, you know, everybody was kind of fleeing away from just like rap that was conscious and that was like, was actually trying to help someone, you know. So it's just so interesting when I think of just the influence of rap on our culture over the years. And you're absolutely right. I don't know why that just mentally took me into a timeline when I was like, what has Diddy done for our community? Like what culturally, obviously as a musician, I think he is amazing. But I also think the same thing about R. Kelly, right? I mean, it was genius to watch R. Kelly like produce music with my own eyes. Like see him come up with things in the studio. It's like, wow, that's really amazing. That's impressive, you know. Taking those people that are good musicians and, like you said, putting them in important places to like represent us as a community. There should be a separation. Like, here's good artistry, but let's put people who are responsible, who are leaders like yourself in the forefront, you know, to really like lead the charge on what our community needs and all of that. Because when you start to put like having celebrities as like, you know, city council members, remember Cardi B ran for office? It's like, what is Cardi B gonna do in office? But be like, like, what is she gonna do? Like, what is Cardi gonna do? You know, so
that's a real funny Cardi B laugh. Do that again.
She be just like, oh my God, me and my daughter do that all the time. But she just that, you know, I'm just wondering, it's like, you're right. Once you get a certain celebrity, it's like thinking about Kim Kardashian as a lawyer now. I mean, I kind of respect it because Kim Kardashian always like takes like, she always want to get black men out of jail, which I'm not mad at. But it's just the idea of that. Like, you can go from a sex tape to like a lawyer and be like, yeah, I'm getting people out of jail now. It's great. Like, you can do that. We accept it and we embrace it as culture. So I just think that that's so interesting. You gave me a lot to think about in terms of like, you know, just this whole thing, like really thinking about what these people are and what they should be revered as, like just good musicians, not like the culture. You're right, boys. They shouldn't be the culture. They should just be good musicians.
They should, right. They have a right to be a culture. They can be a subculture.
A subculture.
But that is not black culture.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we have to know the difference between the two, because there are people who are, you know, there are people out here who hustled to succeed, who didn't sell out in order to get there. They didn't make a rap album. They didn't make a sex tape. They didn't go and rap about getting kids on drugs. You know, they didn't dribble basketball, throw a football. They did it the hard way, right? And honestly, those are the people that are the leaders in the community, not the people that got rewarded for engaging in what effectively became a minstrel show. Hip hop went from being this beautiful thing, this amazing art form where you had just, you know, super talented people that were really speaking a message that was very powerful and beneficial,
right,
to being something that just represented black people in the worst possible way. And that was not accidental. That was deliberate. There's a reason why Tribe Called Quest couldn't get no airplay, but Snoop Dogg could go on an award show with women on a leash. Yeah. Now Snoop Dogg's got to worry about somebody coming back filing lawsuits against him for sex trafficking, right? As soon as he goes from being the jolly old man that everybody's loves right now, you know, Snoop Claus and all these other goofy things that he's become, at some point they're gonna, and a lot of people don't even know this, I think right before Snoop made a big announcement about something, a lady had filed a suit against him, like accusing him of assault. And wow. And I was watching to see how the media would respond, and I noticed how they kind of muffed it out, because what he did was they strategically announced bigger things. Like I think I could have sworn it was like right before he was going to go perform at the Super Bowl, so that kind of squashed it out. But that was out there. So because let's just be clear. If they do a sweep of hip hop, if they have a reckoning of hip hop, Diddy ain't gonna be the only one.
He's not gonna be the only one.
Yeah, and it ain't just the R. Kellys. That R. Kelly wasn't hanging out by himself when he was with all them girls.
You're right.
You know, R. Kelly had a lot of friends.
He did.
You know, a lot of people. You know, so what's unfortunate, what's kind of interesting is that I think a lot of guys are very nervous right now. If I'm you're talking about the Jay-Z's and the Dr. Dre's and whoever, you know, and I think and I feel, part of me feels for these guys because that's kind of what happens. Malcolm X used to say that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then he'll lock you up for being drunk.
Yeah.
So he was like, so don't take that liquor bottle. He'll get you gassed up, thinking that you're safe. You can let your guard down. You know, I'm not black. I'm OJ.
Yeah.
But then they remind you,
Black
no, you're still
OJ.
black. Now you're black and you're OJ. So we're gonna, we're gonna remind you that you live in America. So so here's my conclusion on Diddy is I don't doubt that Diddy probably broke the law. I don't. I just believe that he did. I believe that there's some stuff there. I do think, however, that it is patently unfair to be going back and grabbing stuff from 30 years earlier. I don't like that. I think that that's too shaky. You don't have enough evidence. Also, I think that he's not the biggest fish in this whole pile. I think that Diddy has people above him that position him. Remember, Diddy was a guy who was positioned by other people. I want to know what they were doing too, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I don't want to hear Diddy coming out acting like he's Martin Luther King and we all got to go fight to get him out of jail. Because my thing was, you weren't really calling on the black community when you were doing deals with Ciroc and all these, these white folks in London to sell liquor. So why would you be calling the black community now? That's what a lot of celebrities do when they get in trouble. Suddenly they remember how black they are and they start trying to rally the black community to their cause. And you and I know I've made no secret of this. I had a very hard conversation with Kanye West when he specifically asked me to get black people to rally behind him to fight Adidas. And I was like, why in the fuck would I do that? No, that's your problem. You're the one who decided that you wanted to just go out and say all this stuff about Jewish people, throwing away $1 billion in the process, which I don't agree with. And then second of all, if you are doing things for the black community, then they'll show up for you. But I haven't seen any evidence that you would even be somebody worth protesting for. What are we going to protest for? To worship Kanye West? No, that's silly to me. So ultimately, I think that celebrities get put in this special place where they get isolated from their support base and they start gassing their heads up thinking that they can't be touched. And then stuff like this goes down. Now, Tierra, you are frozen again. Are you there?
Am I? No, I can see you. I'm moving on things.
You are totally frozen. So I'm going to remove you so you can come back in, and maybe you'll come back, and then that'll give you a chance to say goodbye. So come back in. There we go. You're
okay.
Wait. Now your face. See your facial expression. You got fix your Wi-Fi, girl. Get some better Wi-Fi.
My Wi-Fi is good. I got Spectrum. Wait.
You got Boost Mobile. She got that Boost Mobile Wi-Fi. See, that's what, y'all need to stop using that Boost Mobile. Anyway, do me a favor, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and you're watching drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. I have a new book. It's a bestseller on Amazon. It's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, and it is a guide for any family or any individual that wants to learn keys to building wealth in a multi-generational context. It's extremely good. Everybody loves it. You can go to drboycebooks.com, get an autographed copy. I will have one of my kids ship it directly to your house. So just go to drboycebooks.com. Also, don't forget that the All Black National Convention is going to happen October 25th through the 27th. That's where intelligent black people from all around the world, leading experts, get together, and it's 100% independent. It's not sponsored by a corporation, not sponsored by the Democratic Party, not sponsored by the Republican Party, not sponsored by the government. It's sponsored by us. And we get together and we solve our problems. We believe we should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black-owned businesses. And that's what we do. And every year, hundreds of you come out to the convention. And we don't want everybody. We just want the right people. So if you are the right person and this is your mindset, then feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. All right, so let me pull up Tierra. I think she's back. Hey, T, you there?
Yes.
Girl, you frozen again. You literally are frozen again. You know what? You should do audio. Do audio.
I'm frozen now?
Yes, I can hear you though. So just do audio. Let's just do audio. So turn off your video and then do audio, and then I'll say I got Tierra KJ Williams on the line. That way you don't have to have like a random facial expression like while you're talking. So T, let me just say this. What do you think is next for Diddy? Like, do you think that he's going to escape this, or do you think that he's kind of done?
No, I definitely don't think that he's going to escape this. I think this is the one and done. And I agree with you when you said, it's so funny, you said that it's only when celebrities go, they get, deals. He had to deal with the Rock. He didn't involve the black community, but I think they do involve the black community and have us drunk. Right? So they go get these liquor deals.
Hey, Tierra, I hate interrupting you, but you are still now you're choppy. So
What?
yeah. How about this? I'm gonna bring you. I'll bring you back tomorrow. We can talk again later because we gonna get your Wi-Fi thing fixed because I
My
can't.
Wi-Fi. What? My
You
Wi-Fi
are
is
coming in
great.
and out. So everybody say goodbye to Tiara. So Tiara, you are officially booted because your Wi-Fi ain't working.
Bye.
Anyway,
Bye.
everybody, this is Tiara KJ Williams, aka Miss Black Hollywood. If you want to follow Tiara, follow her at Miss Black Hollywood, MS Black Hollywood, and also her website is realvirtual.net. If you have a business and you want help getting your business started, she has a whole team that can not only help you come up with your idea, but they can also help you do the work. So feel free to go to realvirtual.net. Tell her the Dr. Boy sent you. They'll do a free consultation. Bye, Tiara. Get out of with that $2 Wi-Fi. Up here using Boost Mobile, trying to hang out on my podcast. What's wrong with these people? What's going on with these Negroes? Anyway, all right. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask a question, and I will answer your question in terms of what's going on here. There's not much else to cover. Just know this podcast is also on Spotify. So if you go to Spotify, just look up my name, Boyce Watkins. So here's my conclusion on Diddy. I think that this is just the beginning. I think that there are going to be other artists that are going to also deal with these same problems because it's all about the money. So what I see here is that financially speaking, when you are a wealthy person who is that vulnerable, when you've been that exposed because you got this long track record of sleeping with a lot of different people and just being in a lot of different situations, you become an easy target. All the lawyers are licking their chops. All the people anybody who's ever been mad at you is licking their chops. Anybody who has ever wanted to get a payday or a come up is going to come after you. So I think that Diddy, that's his biggest problem. In China, they have a saying that the fattest pig always gets slaughtered. The fattest pig always gets slaughtered, and he's the fattest pig. He's the guy that's got the money. He's the big shot, and heavy is the head that wears the crown. So Diddy's going to really get it from that. But then there are other people out there who were partying with Diddy, who were part of the culture, who were doing things that they shouldn't been doing. And I think that hip hop was an interesting place because where else in society did you see that black men were allowed and even encouraged to engage in some of the most debaucherous behavior imaginable? Like where else in society was there where you have black men that are allowed to get away with stuff that even white people can't get away with? Seriously. It was in hip hop culture. And the only way you can get away with these things is if they're protecting you. So they kind of gave them this license to let their hair down, so to speak, and get comfortable. And what's unfortunate is that we also have a society that's just not fair. The society that has a history of lynching black men, especially when they actually did commit the crime that they're accused of. And I do think Diddy is going to deal with some lynch mob-like behavior. And what I mean by that is they're going to live under the assumption that Diddy's the only one, like that there's nobody else out here doing this. He's the only bad guy. He's the worst that there is. When really, I think that he's part of a collection of bad guys. He's part of an industrial process. Like there's like almost like the same way you have a prison industrial complex. I believe you have a predator industrial complex. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the predator industrial complex will send one person out as the scapegoat. They'll let him be the fall guy, and because I still believe that he pissed somebody off, but that does not mean he's innocent. Right. So everybody who wants to sort of say, well, Diddy didn't do anything, or they're only going after him because he's going to buy NBC or because he started a TV network. I'm not a fan of that because I think that we get into this point where there's no accountability for anybody. Right. Accountability is a big word. You hear lots of men online saying that they want to hold women accountable and all this other stuff. Well, I think accountability might apply in the case of Diddy. There might be some accountability called for, just like there is with Trump. Trump has to be held accountable for some of the things that he did. At the same time, though, when accountability calls, it's not always going to be done in a fair way, right? So the same way it was unjust and unfair that Diddy was allowed to get away with so much, it's also going to be unjust and unfair when you look at how quickly they snatched that Negro's money. Like it's about the payday. I see it, strings of lawsuits coming in. I see it being another Bill Cosby type situation where there are people that are going to make hundreds of millions of dollars from his estate because of this. I wonder how much of an inheritance there will even be for the children because they're really going to come after a lot of his money. And also what this also speaks to, and just in terms of like a simple financial lesson that I want people to hear, especially the men, is that when you have a lot to lose, you can't really spend a lot of time in spaces with people that have nothing to lose. You have to be thoughtful about who's around you, where you are. Diddy was a very social creature. He was around a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of men, a lot of different types of people, and people wanted to be near him. He wanted to be near those people. And I think that that's going to be the thing that ends up pulling him down. And again, I never had a desire to meet Diddy. Diddy was one of those people where I'd heard enough where I said I don't think I want to meet him. I would have met, like, say, a Jay-Z. I've met a few of the rappers and stuff, and some of them are nice people. Even Kanye was a nice guy when he was nice. He just wasn't very nice after a while, and I didn't want to talk to him anymore. But ultimately, long story short, I kind of feel like this is to be expected. This is something that was a long time coming. If you go back to the 90s, if you remember when R. Kelly was getting away with a lot of stuff, there were a lot of people who knew that R. Kelly would eventually not get away with that anymore. And what I think where they did a disservice with R. Kelly is when they encouraged him to keep doing it. He'd make another album where he would literally tell you in broad daylight what kind of weird debaucherous stuff that he was into, and people cheered it on. People would give him more money. Even though we can all agree that maybe the Diddys and the R. Kellys are some sick bastards, we're the sick bastards too, because as a society, we kind of enable this. We cheered for this. We cheered when Snoop Dogg showed up with women on a leash at the VMAs or whatever that award show was. No, nobody stopped. Nobody said, "Hey, wait, that looks like sex trafficking." Nobody said, "Wait, is that a pimp next to you?" Like, this is a federal crime to be, like, this is demeaning. Like, why would you do this? Nobody said that. A few people did, but y'all didn't listen. Why? Well, because he made your favorite song, and that led you to give him a pass. So to some extent, you not only did a disservice to the people that are in this crazy, weird, unfortunate, almost cartoonish situation, right? Look at Bishop Magic Don Juan. Again, this is your depiction of the black man. You got one black man that's dressed like a fucking clown. Seriously, I mean, look at what he's wearing. He's wearing a lime green, whatever that is, with a big old gold cup, and he just looks kind of ridiculous. Snoop Dogg is walking with two women on a leash. The women are walking with the leash. So what in the world would make a black man wear, a suit looking like a gay leprechaun, another black man walk into here talking about how much he hates black women, we don't love them hoes, and calling himself a dog, and then two women that are showing up to this award show with a leash around their neck? What makes this happen? I want y'all to process this. This is what I call a money meditation. What do you think? Type it in the chat. Give me one word. What do you think makes people, good, intelligent human beings, reduce themselves to animals and cartoon characters? And just notice there wasn't no white men showing up looking like this. Wasn't no white guys doing that, even though white people are not perfect. But this is preserved specifically for the black man. This minstrel show belongs to you. It's the money. Must be the money. If you take money out of this equation, and this is why, and I want y'all to understand this is why you hear me talk about these topics, because you cannot talk about money without talking about culture. Money has a culture around it. Money has an energy around it. It's spiritual. It's vibrational. It's about your frequency. So this is low vibrational behavior, all for the sake of money. And the thing about it is that all money ain't good money. And this is something that I want you to understand. All money ain't good money. This is not good money. A good parent would look at this, and if this is your son and he's sitting on an award show hosted by a bunch of white folks that would love to see his black ass in jail, and he's walking around with women on a leash, risking getting caught in a RICO sex trafficking case because he's got a pimp next to him. That's what pimping is, it's sex trafficking. You would call your son up, those of you that are good parents would call your son up and say, "Son, what the fuck are you doing? If you don't get your ass home and act like you got some damn sense, I'm coming to snatch you off that stage." That's what a lot of y'all would do. And I want to commend you. If you're that kind of parent, I want to commend you, because a lot of parents wouldn't have the courage to do that. A lot of parents would say, "Woo, I'm so proud of my son. He's so successful." What's successful about making yourself into a minstrel show? There's no success in that. And anything there's only the illusion of success. Because even the illusion is temporary. Eventually, when the lights go dark and when they don't love you no more, they go back and they say, "Oh, well, of course you deserve to go to prison. I mean, look at this. Look at this. You had women on a leash. You were hanging out with known sex traffickers." And I'm not even blaming Snoop for all this. I'm not even blaming R. Kelly for all of this. I'm blaming those two and the enablers. Remember, everything has an energy around it. There's an atmosphere around it. There's a culture around it. Just like money has a culture and an atmosphere. R. Kelly had a culture and an atmosphere around him. He was surrounded by a culture and an atmosphere that spent many years making him think it was okay for him to go date a 15-year-old. They made him think it was okay for him to make songs about sleeping with 20 women in the same day. They made it seem okay for him to just, engage in behavior that would be entirely unacceptable if he wasn't a rich, famous singer. People enabled that. People brought their daughters to him. They fed their children to this man. That's what they did. So now when R. Kelly is sitting there in prison garb, when he's wearing a prisoner's jumpsuit, what I'm sitting there thinking is I feel bad for this man. I do. I don't think he should get out of jail. I don't think he should not be held accountable. So don't misquote me. Don't say, well, Dr. Boyce feels bad for R. Kelly. I'm not saying it like that. So make sure we don't get that wrong. I'm saying I feel bad for him because society encouraged him to behave in this way. America is not a country that rewards black men for being normal, decent, disciplined, healthy, beneficial human beings. The society does not reward black men for being the kinds of men who take care of their families, handle their business, educate themselves, and show responsibility. Those are not the guys that get to be the millionaires. Those are not the ones that they put on TV. The men they put on TV are the ones who will do the most buffoonish, clownish things to gather enough attention to sell a record, to have a party. And then when they get done with you, they throw you out with the garbage and they say, well, we didn't want nothing to do with that nigga anyway. Tell me if I'm lying. If I'm lying, I am flying. This is what they do to you. This is the culture, y'all. This is the shit they've been promoting on BET for years. Y'all been Paramount Pictures, you're just as guilty as Diddy. BET, you were feeding and funneling. You were paying him. You knew what this man was up to. You knew he was involved in all kinds of crazy stuff. You knew the rumors. Come on now. How many of y'all really think that they just now figured out what Diddy was up to? They knew that in 2004. And they incentivized it. And why did they do it? Well, because, first of all, because the industry is a dirty, nasty place. And people forget that. People act like it doesn't happen. And then second of all, because they don't care about your community. They don't care about your son. They don't care what happens to these people once they're done with them. They don't care about Diddy's family and his children who've been traumatized now because they had to be carried off the property in handcuffs. They don't care about that. All they care about is making a dollar and doing it at your expense. Polluting and destroying your culture, pissing in your culture. Making your culture into a toxic waste dump full of debauchery and immaturity, embarrassing, ignorant-ass behavior. The intelligent black man does not get celebrated in America. You have to be ignorant as hell. You have to be stupid. You have to, if you can spell words and have a vision for your family, or you're making a plan, or you're trying to be disciplined, well, that's not interesting. They want to see you looking like Bishop Magic Don Juan in the big leprechaun suit. That's what they want. That's what they want for black people. So when I see this stuff going on, I mean, I'm sorry, I had to be honest with you, and I know I probably sound weird or preachy. I don't know what I sound like, but at the end of the day, it bothers me. It makes me just sick to my stomach because these guys are smart. Diddy's a smart man. Diddy could have done some great things. I think Diddy could have been a great asset to the community, but instead he was like this flashy little, fast talking, shit talking, no follow through, little Peter Pan-ish type of guy who was literally 45, 50 years old, dancing around like he's a 22-year-old. And he was doing that because that's what he had to do to get his money. So now you see where that's put him, and I feel, and this guy's in a really tough spot. I don't see this getting better anytime soon. That's just my honest to God assessment. And I know I probably pissed some people off, or maybe I hurt somebody's feelings when I said it. If I did, I apologize, but I can't take back what I said because this is honestly what I'm seeing. This is an honest reflection. So be careful. Teach this to your children, please. Get them ready for the world. Teach them that all money ain't good money. Just because somebody's paid doesn't mean that they're successful. There's a lot of wealthy failures in our society. In the black community, it's very easy to be wealthy by selling out. It's very easy to be wealthy by being ignorant. It's very easy to be wealthy by following the crowd. It's very easy to be wealthy by doing debaucherous things. But a lot of times that wealth is only temporary. And at the end of the day, these people will throw you out with the garbage. And I think that's what they're doing to Diddy. I'm going to tell you the honest God truth. I believe Diddy's guilty. I believe just like I believe Cosby did some stuff he shouldn't have done, but I don't believe Cosby and Diddy are the only ones. And I also believe that they got pinpointed because they pissed somebody off. And they know the people that pinned those two are people that are smart enough to know that society's kind of dumb. They don't think things through. They don't process and wonder like, hey, wait, do you think he really was the only one? They don't look at the higher ups. They look at those two people and make them the scapegoats. You look at R. Kelly and you think R. Kelly's the only one. And it's a big bowl of ignorance to me. It's the dumbest thing ever, because I'm sitting there thinking that if you see one roach in your kitchen, that does not mean that you have one roach in your kitchen. If you see one roach next to the refrigerator and then you stamp out that roach, do you really think you've ended the roach problem in your kitchen? No, you have not. There's hundreds of other roaches in your kitchen. You just haven't found them because you haven't looked for the nest. They never look for the nest. They look for the one roach that snuck out to the refrigerator to try to grab a sandwich in the middle of the night. That's what they do. So Diddy ain't the only one. That's my belief. That's my 2 cents. And I'm sticking by it. I'm done. Thank you guys for listening. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, my new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. We also have financial flashcards for kids. If you want to go take a look at those, I believe deeply in wealth. I think wealth and power will put our community where we want to be. So if you want to take a look at some of the stuff we have going on, go to drboycebooks.com. Also, we do financial consciousness training every single morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's totally free to join us live. So if you'd like to join our financial consciousness training and get a free training called How to Make Money Without Working, in an introduction to stock options, my PhD is in finance. That's what I do. Text the word money to 87948. The number's on the screen. Text money to 87948. I will send you stuff. It'll be free. It'll rock your world. I promise you. You want to get down with the Black Business School. We are the best on earth when it comes to Black wealth. We are the Black wealth surgeons of the community, because I believe deeply that Black wealth is Black power, and that in order for us to have power and freedom, we got to master our wealth and our economics. That way we don't have to sell out and tap dance and embarrass ourselves in order to get access to capital. We can do it by having integrity, building strong families, making ourselves educated, making ourselves healthy, and making our families strong. That's what I want for us. I want us to be the best. I don't want us in this clown show anymore. This is an embarrassment. All right. So anyway, if you agree, if that's who you are, text the word money to 87948 and I'll hook you up. I'll send you some stuff. So feel free to go take a look at that. Also, a quick reminder, we are doing a stock options summit in Los Angeles. If you want to come to a live event and hang out with us, then feel free to go to stockoptionsummit.com. That's going to be April 19th. And for 2 straight days, you'll be in a room with over 100 and something other people, and we're all going to talk about stock options. I promise that's gonna really change your life if you haven't been introduced to it. So feel free to go to stockoptionsummit.com, and also don't forget the All Black National Convention is in Lombard, Illinois, October 25th through the 27th. So if you want to check that out too, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and it's 100% independent. No buffoonery. We're getting it done. We're making it happen. We don't celebrate the celebrities. We celebrate the mothers, the fathers, the counselors, the coaches, the teachers, the therapists, the people in the community, all of you that are doing a good job, the pastors, everybody that's really out here really repping your people. I want you to know that I see you, I love you, and I appreciate you, and I value you, and you are my heroes, not some Negro on TV. I'm going to just be honest. Have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, this podcast is on Spotify, so feel free to look up my name on Spotify or Apple. I'll see you guys soon. I'll talk to you later. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.